Welcome, everybody. I'm going to try to catch up. I know we're about 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. Trudy, I know, is unavailable tonight. I haven't heard from John Cazalito or Alden Drake, but let's call this meeting to order at 6:48 on September 21st. This is a meeting of the Community Preservation Committee remotely via Zoom. And present at this point are Mary Wood, Patricia Groots. Did I get that right? Oh, Patricia looks
You
frozen.
did, though I think sorry, can you not hear me?
Oh, I can now.
Okay, sorry. I'll try to switch to my computer, which might have better Wi-Fi.
You're doing that freeze frame thing. And Leo Mastronzi
Okay.
and Janet Burt, who is vice chair.
Her microphone is off. Rick?
That's okay. You can be,
Microphone.
your
No,
microphone can be off if you
and
need to.
I'll call back in on my computer to be stronger with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think it would be.
Yeah,
I'll
thanks.
give you a minute.
No, it's okay. I'll switch. No big deal.
Oh, you can switch. Okay. I'm calling for I'd enter agenda item number 2, looking for any public comment. If there's anybody on the phone, which there isn't, that would like to add to our story tonight, please speak up. Seeing none. Moving on. Number 3, review and approval of the minutes of August 16th. They are with Trudy, so they are unavailable. We will just hold that to our next meeting. The next thing is we have to, by statute, have a public hearing, an official public hearing where it gets published in the newspaper and is open to everyone. It'll be in person at the select board meeting room for a public hearing to announce our kickoff of the I think it's 25-26 season or 24-25 season that's coming up of requesting grant applications. Has anybody done that before? Been part of that?
I don't remember.
I don't think we ever did, Leo. I mean, it was posted. I don't ever remember having a public meeting, even on Zoom.
So we're going to do it. And
So do we have to do it face to face? Because I don't really want to do face to face.
I think there'll be a Zoom option, but I will be in person.
Okay.
I want to just, if there are people that want to meet and greet people and shake hands, I think that's probably appropriate to do that in our first meeting. So it's fine. If you can't make it, I think there'll be a Zoom option, but I'll make sure there is. And I was just thinking, since I had no idea what to do, I tried to get a PowerPoint presentation, about 5 or 6 slides, kind of do a general overview of what CPC does, what CPC has funded in the past in Wenham, and the application process with deadlines. And that probably could be printed on 3 or 4 pages, and they could take that as a takeaway with the application. Then the process is we do a pre-qualification. Well, let's just stop right there. Is that a good date for you? I had to kind of schedule it because we had to do the public notices, but I hope some of us can make
I'm sorry, Rick, what was the date?
October 4th. I think it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks from last night. We do need to have a quorum, but
Well,
I think
if you do want to ask us now, because it's fine for me.
okay. Yeah, please make it if you can. I understand I didn't get a chance to ask. I don't like doing that. But the statutory constraints were if I kept waiting, we'd be in the middle to late October, and then that starts backing up our calendar.
So are we
So
saying 6:30 on the October 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In your packet, which might be a little difficult to read because it was so small. So if anybody wants to present, wants to do anything, please speak to me. I've only been doing CPC since like January. So I'm going to be relying on people like Stuart Savinor to help me prepare for that meeting. He is our liaison to the Community Preservation Act Coalition.
Rick, I'll bet Stuart has, for lack of a better word, canned slides that you don't have to
Yep.
reinvent the wheel.
Nope, I've asked him for him. He's getting
doesn't.
back and forth. Yeah.
Okay.
Calendar. Oh, in the packet, you'll see it's a little difficult because it's so small. A spreadsheet looking document. And this is what the town is using this year to get us all on board for an April 4th, April 6th town meeting. So I wanted partly to show this whole thing so that you could see the complexity of what they're trying to do to get everything together. And then our dates are highlighted, and maybe I'll just read them out. And then if you can't read it, I've got to turn some more light on. When you get a little older, the eyes need more light. Starting with the kickoff on October 4th. And that's where we'll give our, spiel on how the season's going to go. And from that date onward, application. So one of the best practices that we actually kind of followed was to do a pre-qualification form, which just kind of set the grantees, level set them on what to expect and where they fit in and how they can work this. So it shows them what category you might fit into, and then a brief overview of the project. What we've been doing in the past is send an email to the chair, and I'm not comfortable with that folksiness. I'd like to have something that gets date stamped officially by a town clerk or the town administrator's office, and everything be kind of go through one central repository, because then there's a copy of it somewhere too. Applications would be due by the 15th of November. And then at the end of November, we'd either then, I'm trying to make sure, I'm just kind of watching in case anybody's trying to sneak in again. Then on November 28th, which is the week after Thanksgiving, we have a meeting just to discuss the appropriateness of the applicants that we've received, and that will close the period of applications. The 15th is when they're closing, the 28th will approve them, and then they need to fill out a full application. So I will remind them, I will remind them that there isn't that long of a time period before they didn't take my changes. Sorry. Sorry. And then by January 9th, so right after the holiday season, January 9th, those final applications are due. The highlighting got shifted. I must have the wrong copy. I must have picked the wrong copy. So by January 9th, they need to have everything sent in so that we have presentation starting on the 10th. That doesn't sound right. So we may need to review that. So good, I'm talking out loud. Let me go through the dates. So 1/9, these dates. Yes. 1/9, we get all the applications are due. Now they're saying by 1/10, we're going to have presentations from the applicants. Well, that's not going to be realistic, right? Janet, you've done this before. Joe, Leo. So we're going to have to change that one already, but we'll figure that out.
If there's enough, excuse me,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Please speak up.
if there's not enough applicants, we can hear them all in one night.
Yes.
If there's too many, we split it. In the past, we've split it into 2 meetings. And then we've let half of them, when there was too many, we let half of them give their presentation at one meeting and the other half the second meeting. And then we have another meeting to decide which ones we'll approve and at what level we will approve them.
Great. Okay, so what we might be able to do, because I haven't heard any rumblings from anybody looking for money this year yet. We have on February 7th, a second presentation night. And then on February 13th, the Monday, a week later, excuse me, we'll be making our awards. So our final date is February 13th, where we'll, like Leo says, make the final determinations that we recommend to the select board, who recommend then to the town. Here's
Sounds
John.
like you had two presentation dates. Was it January
I do have
9th?
two presentation dates right now.
The other one was. The other one was.
The other one was maybe a little too close to when the applications were due. So I'm gonna have to
It
work
probably
on
should
it.
be 2 weeks later or a week later or.
I
2
agree,
weeks
at least a
later.
week later, Leo. You're right. You're right. So I'm
And
gonna move
then-
that.
And then another one where we make the decision, and
Yes,
that's what the decision will present to the town.
correct. And then if we go through, welcome, John.
Welcome. My apologies. I had it down at 7. I'm sorry.
No problem. You're here now. Welcome. Just want to let the record show that John Cosolito joined at 6:59. Update, John, we just,
Wait, can I tell him, Rick, update John, while you weren't here, we put you in charge of 3 things.
Very good. Thank you.
That's great. I'll never be late for a meeting, tell you that much.
Right.
Right. Don't do that.
Can we move along, Rick?
yes, are we comfortable with this schedule as it stands? I mean, it
Great.
can modify.
Sounds
but
good.
I just want to give
You're
a
gonna
heads up.
modify January 10, right?
I gotta modify that date. Yeah, it needs to go out a week, at least a week. And then that might be the only meeting we have to discuss applicants, and then we can move things up and be done early, which would be great.
Good.
Okay. Thank you, folks. So, do we need to approve that? I'd like to take a vote, just to take a vote on that schedule.
I'd like to move that we use the schedule that Rick has read to us.
I second that. If I can do that there's going to be a modification on January 10.
Yes, correct. Modification at January 10th will probably move out 1 week.
Right.
All in favor?
All right,
Hi.
Aye.
Oh, you know what?
Aye.
I gotta do roll call. So, because we're on Zoom. Mary,
Aye.
Leo,
aye,
Janet,
Janet Burt, aye.
Patricia,
Hi.
and John.
Aye.
And Rick is aye. Thank you. Hopefully, we're going to be doing more things here with votes and conversation and votes and seconds and approvals, and that's my goal. Okay, back to the agenda.
what's next on the agenda, Rick?
I'm going, Leo. Keep pushing me, man. Also in the packet tonight is a pre-qualification form. If you all want to take that out and take a look at it, I should be able to pull it up on the screen.
Do you want me to share my screen, Rick, and do it?
Oh, do you have it?
Uh-huh. Oh, it's disabled. Sorry, the host will
Yeah.
have to do it. Sorry.
Oh, no, he can make you a co-host.
Okay, happy to help if that's easier to
It
take
would
notes.
be. Let me just reach you.
If you just go to participants, Rick, you can make her a co-host.
Well, it says make it a host. So we have 2 hosts?
You can.
No, I don't want to. It doesn't say 2 co-hosts. I'm going to continue because everybody should have it in their packet. Everybody should have it in their packet the old
Please.
school way. What I did was I really just copied Hamilton and changed the name because I thought it was good enough. And I looked at Acton, town of Acton. So I've been following some towns, Hamilton, Acton, Arlington, just to see what they're doing. And this form looked pretty similar in both Acton and in Hamilton. Acton must have had some problem in the past because there was like 10 pages longer than this one. So they obviously had something. But the idea is to identify who it is so we can reach them with an email. Who knows where they are, right? What category you're applying for, and they will get a definition of each category, how much they're requesting, what the cost is, describe the project. And they will get a copy of the handbook when they apply to make sure they meet all the categories. Comments, discussion on this?
I think it looks really good.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's smart to keep it simple between us and Hamilton.
I agree.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I agree.
It's good that it's one page and it has everything on it that you need.
Yes, we just,
Rick, you're talking about the presentations now.
I'm talking about the pre-qualification form.
Okay, that this is nobody in front of us. This is just a written form that's submitted to us.
Correct, correct.
Okay,
To make sure
I
that their project is actually eligible for CPA funding.
I understand.
Which will therefore avoid some of the issues we had last year.
Yeah, should.
Right.
At the end, I'll talk a little bit about that. Do I have a motion to accept this as designed?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
Janet seconds it. All in favor, I need to do roll call. Mary,
Aye.
Leo,
Aye.
Janet,
Janet Burt, aye.
Patricia,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Henrik, aye, unanimous. I'm sorry if I think this stuff is a little tedious, but I'm just trying to throw up a little. The 6B was a discussion on any other forms or documents required for the process. So what I'm trying to do, and I'll bring them to you a little at a time, hopefully not all at once, but hopefully just in time before we need them, is then a final application app and just kind of upgrade that just a little bit, tweak it a little bit. Because it just doesn't, we need to be more standard. But I don't really have anything else to add unless you folks have any idea on forms or things we should require of people.
No, I think
And I'll
it's
send-
fine.
And I'll send around very complex things like one town says you need to provide ownership, meaning you've got to show the title of the property. And I'm like, this is getting really intense. I'm like, so they must have had some issues with people asking for money that didn't own the property they were going to enhance. So I don't think we need to do that. We haven't had a lot of problems so far, so I want to keep it as simple as we can.
Rick, that'll come up on the applications. I don't think we have to look at that now. It'll come
No,
up on the
no,
applications.
it'll be on the application,
And
which
we
will hopefully
talked
in
about that. If
November.
it's disqualified, we disqualify it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're a small enough town, I think, that we know. Like a big town like Acton, probably they're not as close. A couple of people had special projects they were working on, and did any of them want to come forward and talk about their projects? I'll always be a spot for this.
Rick,
Yes, sir.
I don't think we ought to talk about special projects now, and we should only talk about after we receive applications.
Oh, no, these are special projects like Trudy's working on a list of all the projects funded. And I know somebody else took on another task to do some work. So these are not directly related to giving out money, but improving the CPC and how we work.
We've worked pretty well in the past, Rick, I think.
I think so, but we can always be better. Number 8, we're halfway through. Discussion and potential vote on hosting an October 24th meeting with Stuart Saginaw and KP Law. So Stuart is confirmed. The law firm will be confirmed soon. What do you guys want to hear?
So I've met with both of them last year for reasons that are not important. Stuart's fabulous. He's pretty concise. He knows Wenham really well. And I feel you were on one of the meetings with me, Rick.
Yeah.
He just tells us what things that he thinks are really important that we need to know. Nothing that's controversial necessarily, but he gives us information that, well, I think most of us might not know. You know, Leo, you may know more than we do because you've been on it longer than we have been on it. But I I'm just gonna go out on a limb here, even though this is recorded, and say, I don't know why we have to have the law firm talking to us, because if we need legal advice, we can get it later.
I think you're right. And I've heard Rick's talked to us several times over the years. And in the few times that we had a question for him, we were able to, after we had the application, we had 2 weeks before that we had the next meeting, we were always been able to get an answer from.
You're talking about Stuart, right, Leo? Stuart?
We've always been able to get an answer from Stuart about a
Right.
certain issue when it finally arises. And so I don't think we ought to talk about issues until one finally arises. And then we can get a quick answer from Stuart.
Okay, other comments? What if, like, I know, Patricia, you're a new person. What's your view? I mean, Mary, you're pretty new to this too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be super helpful to talk to Stuart, especially if he has like more context around the types of projects or about Wenham in particular, or just like to learn more about kind of I don't know. I'm just here to absorb and listen to what he would have to offer and say. So I don't know that I have specific questions as much as I think it would be a valuable resource. Whether or not, I don't know if it needs to be everyone or if it's just those of us that want that content, but I sure think it would be helpful for me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, we could make it an
Chairman?
optional, we could make it an optional meeting. We could make it educational meeting. And if people feel like
Chairman?
they don't need that support.
Mr. Chairman, I've found that Mr. Savino was always available, whether to us as a group or individually, because there's been individual members of a cost over the years have contacted him individually for looking for his opinion, and they've got answers.
Okay,
I would just say, I can't weigh in one way or another about meeting with him. I am, relatively new myself, but one thing that I know has been an issue over the years, just from listening last year's discussion, is open space, and how do we, maybe Stuart has some advice on how we go about ensuring that we are able to get applicants to us for open space, or how do we go about that process so that it is one that we can actively pursue?
Mr.
If there is,
Chairman, can I answer that?
sure, Leo.
I've been on it a long time, and we so far haven't spent a nickel on open space. It's not up to Saginaw or even to advise us on it. It's up to somebody in the town to be proactive. And whether it's the upcoming 100 acres over on Burley Street, the Streeter place, or whether it's the chicken farm going on out of Wenham on Route 97, it's up to somebody in the town to be proactive and pursue it before it comes up. Because when it finally comes up, if it's a chapter property, we have 120 days. And sometimes that's too close. And we've
So
lost
I've reached
properties in
out-
town because of it.
So I agree with you, Leo, that we need to have somebody who is qualified in fundraising, because essentially what you're doing is you're asking somebody to give something. And I've already started a conversation with Chris Lapointe at Essex County Greenbelt to engage with him at a better level to understand how the Greenbelt can help us bridge those finances, which they've done in other towns. Since we have to get a vote of town meeting to approve this money, I want to see what resources there are to get us from the day we know something's available to the day we have town meeting where it can be approved. So I've been working on that because I see that's one of the limitations in the town government system. So maybe Chris Lapointe, somebody we should come in and visit to talk about open space purchasing.
Rick?
Yes, sir.
Rick? Greenbelt, Essex County Greenbelt is an excellent partner to be proactive in approaching property owners who we may want to do business with. But I've had experience economically for money, they can't be any help at all. But they can be enormous help in helping us acquire land by their name and by their experience.
Agreed.
They can help us be proactive.
And I part of why I'm working on this nuts and bolts stuff is because when I talk to people that provide services or try to work with Wenham, I consistently get, you're difficult to work with. You're difficult to work with. And so I'm trying to change that. And one of them is internally, things like extending trust to each other when we're in meetings. And I think we're doing a good job of it here. But the thing is, we need to be working that with people that are outside of the town. So that our reputation doesn't precede us in a negative way. Whether that's actual experience or just rumor and innuendo, I don't know, but we have to fix it. So getting Chris Lapointe a little bit more closely aligned with us, understand what he can do, what we can do, I think would be a healthy thing.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Well, can I just make a comment? Leo, I've only been on this committee, I think 2 years, maybe this is my third. But Leo's made this point many times, and he's absolutely right. It's a lovely town, we love it, and we need to do something to maintain the integrity of the town and do something about Greenbelt. I don't know how we do that if we get 12 applications for things that are not related to it, but I really wish we could do something to make sure we start spending some money in that category.
And they've worked with, I spoke to him a while on, he done some work in West Newbury, which is very similar to us. It's a small town. It's not really, doesn't really have anything going for it other than its beauty, like us. He started out small with some small projects, and then now they're working on larger and larger projects. And through that experience, they gained trust in the town and helped them go find projects. So I'm hoping that can happen here too.
What about trustees of reservations?
Another great organization, right?
They're what?
Another great organization.
Okay.
The thing with Essex County Greenbelt is they focus just on Essex County, whereas the trustees are looking all over the place for things, and we might not be as big an entity for them to take seriously.
Comment on that with those names as partners, it carries a lot of weight and it opens a door. And so those two names, the trustees and Greenbelt, they're very important for us to come along with us to approach a potential property owner. But we won't be able to count those for those on money. So we have to put aside a certain amount. I know it's mandatory to put aside 10% for open space, but on the other categories, we've been spending more than 10% and more 10% every single year. So there's nothing come up on open space yet. So that's going to be interesting to see if the committee votes to spend more than that than the 10% on open space.
So I have a question. So can we vote, even if there's no application, can we vote to, let's say, put aside 20%? Are we allowed to do that even though we don't have an application?
I don't think so. I think it's mandatory that 10% goes to each category. There's three
Bucket,
categories, 10%
Right.
each category, and the other 70% goes into the bucket.
Okay.
I guess.
Excuse me, let me just one more sentence. So we have in open space, the 10% we've been putting aside for almost 20 years now. We have that, and we have, if the committee and the town vote on it, the rest out of the main bucket, if there's any left in the main bucket.
Okay, so we could do that. Anything left at the end, we can dump that into open space.
Yes.
Perfect.
We can join it up with the open space bucket to give a grant, right?
Okay. I like
If
that.
there's a grant,
Precise.
to give a grant, but not just throw it in the open space bucket.
Correct.
Only
Right,
10% each
right.
year goes in the open space budget.
Do you
So
have any, Leo, do you have any leads on even small projects that we could take on?
I pray for that chicken farm, the Angelini farm.
Angelini property. Mhm.
Angelini property, you know, even if the town bought it and they could sell the house at the top of the hill for a huge amount of money, because it has the best view in Essex County of that whole valley. And then they could save the rest of the 20 or 25 acres there for open space.
The other thing too that we
And
talked
get
about.
most
was
of their
that-
money back, excuse me, and get most of their money back for the
Oh,
house on top of the
I
hill.
agree. I've also started talking to people about the town owning the land forever and leasing it out if they wanted to do some kind of commercial development, as opposed to selling the land to the person who wants to build a building. That way the town can always control what's built on that site. The other thing that Greenbelt and I talked about was permanent in perpetuity conservation restrictions. As
Like
opposed,
Reynolds Farm.
right, which is less costly for the town to do, but still gets the same benefit of leaving the vista, leaving it open, can't be touched.
The only thing
So
with
Leo, does
Angelini-
Angelini's
Excuse
farm,
me, Leo
doesn't
had a
that
comment
touch
back,
the,
Janet.
The only thing
I'm
with
sorry,
Angelini
does-
Farm, you could do that is farm it, just like they're farming Reynolds Farm.
Right.
And there is farmers
This-
who want to do that. Because food has become a valuable commodity,
Locally
So
grown
is-
food has become a valuable commodity.
even more
Yeah.
so.
Angelini's farm, doesn't that bump up against the rail trail? Doesn't the
What's
rail
that?
trail go right near there?
At the
What
base of it,
farm?
it does.
The Angelini Farm?
Right.
Yeah, that's the rail trails at the bottom
It's
of the
right
hill.
there at
where
the
it is.
base.
It's at the bottom of the hill, right?
Right.
So I want to get back to is discussion okay on that?
I'd say,
I'd like to get back to number 8, which was, I think I would like to keep pursuing this evening, and I'll tell you why I'd like to have the lawyer there. I had a very kind of personal dissatisfaction with how the CPC was treated by the corporate attorney on the day of the town meeting. And we had agreed with Harriet, you know, when she got ill, so she wasn't there. But I felt like they changed language inappropriate that made the meeting of what we were trying to do with one of these grants different than what our intention was. And when I called the lawyer on it, right standing in front of town meeting, she didn't like the fact that I said, this is what Harriet told you. This is what we wanted as a group. Put it back. And so I want to know exactly what their role is, what we can expect from them, and where the boundary is between what we want to do in our heads versus what the legal requirements are. Like, we didn't break any legal requirements, but she didn't like the language. And her language was much softer and more open. So that's why I want to get a lawyer in there. It may not be her, Lauren, it might be one of her associates. I just want to hear from them how they view it and what their role is, so we know.
Well, I think we know what they think their role is, but I think Stuart can answer that question for us.
I want them both. I want to hear both sides because
Rick,
there's a
Rick,
disconnect.
what kind of expenses that incur?
Not for, it should be a sales call. So
Because
I
lawyers
will
can
find
run up
out.
thousands of dollars. I've had experience. Lawyers
I will
can run
find
up
out if there's a charge.
thousands.
I will find out if there's a charge for that. Thank you, Leo. And if there is, then we probably won't see her because I don't think we should be paying for that. Not with the $60,000 they're getting from us this year. Plus 60 plus. That's what I wanted to do. I'll keep moving on that. Okay. And we'll see where it goes. Next item, number 9. It's kind of a financial update. It's a spreadsheet inside your packet as well. And we're going to get this more often. I really have to commend the prior chairwoman for her diligence in getting her real numbers. She helped find $1.7 million in funding. But this spreadsheet just shows from last year what projects, well, it tells you all the projects, but what's been paid out and what hasn't been paid out. I think we want to keep this in front of us all the time as we're preparing for grants for the new year to see in real numbers the investments we made in different organizations and different areas. So maybe we do have to say no to somebody who's gotten 3 or 4 grants or 2 or 3 because there's somebody more needy over here that in a new project. That makes sense to you folks?
Yeah.
There's some entities have been coming in front of us every year and because the person who represented that entity was so eloquent of a salesperson that they kept getting grants. And I'd like to make a comment on when we have a chance about making our decisions.
About about our process?
Yeah, I'd like to mention on the two presentations, one in January and then the following meeting, where we may get 8 or 10 or 12 presentations. We're going to find some of the presenters, the representatives who talk in front of us at the meeting, more eloquent than others. Okay, and some of them are real salespersons. Now we have to make a decision. We're not spending our money, we're spending the town's money. The town people who own property in town are paying 3% on top of their tax bill. So we're spending their money, not our money. It's not how much we like the presentation or how much we individually like the certain project that's being presented to us. We have to judge if the town wants it. We have to judge a little bit if it benefits the town, but we have to judge if the majority of the people in town want it. And there's several barometers you can use for that. And one of them that I've used is how much the entity, the presenter or that entity has raised themselves. How many donations have they got themselves? And how much money have they raised themselves? And that's kind of a barometer that shows me how much the town is interested, not how much I like the project or how much I like the person presenting the project. Thank you.
Now that's good, Leo. And I'm wondering then in December, before we get to reviewing the projects, do we want to create kind of like a checklist of what we're looking for that we could keep to ourselves as members, that we could take little notes or remind ourselves to ask questions? That might be a way to do that and make it a little more formal. But I agree, we are representatives of the town trying to pick the best way forward for the millions of dollars.
We're spending their money, the town's.
Correct.
How do
Thank
you
you.
all think about setting up the criteria about what is best for the town? Like, how much are y'all looking at, like, what's going on with like the master planning conversations or some of the other dialogue that the town is having about who we are now and in the future? Like, is that clear? Is that something that we should talk about or try to discuss before we get into debates about which project does or does not align with what we think the town values are?
I'll put on my planning board member hat now.
Yeah,
That process won't be complete for a while.
yeah,
So,
okay.
and I don't want to judge or preclude anything by having us trying to match what's still theoretical
In
and
progress, okay.
fully formed yet. But you're exactly right. Once that document is published, the town approves it and starts getting implemented, we have to fall in line to that as well.
Okay.
And we will have a checklist. Does it meet section 5? Does it meet section 8? Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Thanks
coming.
for that.
First one in 60 years. And it hopefully is going to prevent some. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So the grant money was transferred. It's showing that number 10, We have one little bill we have to pay, but I wanted to get everybody's approval. We got asked for our dues this year. It should be an easy thing. $1,750, which comes out of the tax revenue that we collect, the 3%, to the Community Preservation Coalition. So essentially, this is how we pay for Stewart. This is our
We've always
annual-
paid it. We've always paid it, so I'd like to move that we pay it.
I second that.
And I'll do a roll call. Mary? I saw the I, but yeah. Leo?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Patricia?
Unmute there. I'm unmuted now.
You're an I, right, Mary?
Yes.
Patricia?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Rick? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. The next section is really, what are you folks hearing for the next season that's coming up for the actually should be 24-25 year. Are you hearing anybody starting to talk about things that need to be encouraged or need help or?
Mr. Chairman, we've never had to encourage anybody. We're going to get applications. We're going to get enough of them, more than we can afford.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about getting too many, but sometimes people are hesitant or they're having trouble and they're a good idea and they might just need to talk to somebody about putting their idea together. That's what I was just thinking about.
We've never looked for that before. They come running now.
New chairman, new ideas. Thanks.
I haven't heard of anything except for the Cutler School work, but I don't think that touches here.
Okay. I did hear about somebody wanting to resurrect the garden that is at the Bucher School as a joint project with the senior center and the school kids there.
That's great.
So that will be a short project, not high visibility, low financial impact. Just to let you know, we do have an at-large position open and there are 2 candidates for that position. The select board is planning on voting that in early October. So then we should be back at full strength after that.
Right.
And we're down to 14 topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Is there a list? I'll take notes.
Nothing for me.
Nothing from me.
On here.
Nope. I'm all set.
Nothing from me.
Please feel free to bring them to me and get them on the calendar. If I've missed anything or you feel a little alienated because I didn't get to your topic tonight, please see me and we'll figure out why I missed it. Anybody else?
Okay, Leo, it's your time to speak. Come on.
I'd like to, do we have a date for the next meeting? Is it October 4th?
Our next meeting is October 4th at Town Hall and by Zoom.
If there's no more discussion, I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I gotta go
Aye.
around the room because we're on Zoom.
Oh, sorry.
Mary,
Roll
it's
call.
my fault. Mary,
Aye.
Leo,
Yes.
Janet. Janet, you're a yes,
Yes, I
Patricia?
did say.
Aye.
and John.
Aye.
And Rick says aye too. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Rick,
you.
you did a good
Thank you,
job.
Rick.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Did a good job, Rick.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
You too, folks.
Good night, folks.
Aye.